Hello, hello. We'll be looking at the Obsidian skates today. These are probably one of the more well-known aftermarket skates by Xraypad. They're called Obsidian skates, and they're dots, and they're typically known for their controlled and reliable performance. So I'm gonna be taking a look at them today and kind of answer are they worth it? Are they overrated? What do I think? So here are the dots right here. Let me give you a closer look at how a new one looks like. They look kind of like this. Sorry about the mess with the underside, but you can see a new one looks kind of like that, and some used ones look like that. Before me, we have two copies. We have one that's relatively new, actually really new, installed. This has been installed today and used on this softpad for like a little bit. Well, this one is one that has been used a lot, and I purposely just broke the center of my Xraypad kin, so this has been really broken in. So you probably can't really see it. It's not like it's super visible, but I promise you this has gone through a lot, and it is very different. I don't know if you could tell, probably not. Yeah, I don't think you could tell for side-by-side comparison, but this one has gone through a lot of just back and forth on the Xraypad kin, like a lot. Anyways, so let me give you guys my impressions, my review after using these for a while. I've had these for a long time, but I never really made a video about them. So, yeah. To give you my first impressions of the Obsidian skates is that at first, I remember I didn't think they were that controlled when I first got them, but I think that might have been just because I've been installing my skates wrong on my V-Stacks. So, but but that was the past. As of now, I do feel like it's a relatively controlled skate, and it is hard in PTFE, I believe, so they will last longer. I'm not entirely. I think they're hard in PTFE. I think so. But essentially, I do see these as relatively controlled, but they do differ from, let's say, the Ghost Glide Cyclones a little bit. So, if you saw my older video, or my other video about the Ghost Glide Cyclones, you'll know that I think they're like smooth and premium. These kind of feel like a relatively same speed, but they do feel a little rougher. So, I wouldn't call them smooth. I don't know if this is true, but the impression I get from comparing these to the Ghost Glide Cyclones is that the Ghost Glide Cyclones are a little bit more smoother, more, what's the word? Less durable. Like I said, I don't know whether that's true, but that's kind of the impression I give. But, so there is pros and cons to that. So, I think that these are a little bit more, these might last longer. I don't know whether that's true, like I said, just speculation. But, these do feel controlled, and they feel mostly fine on a cloth pad, so it's less noticeable on like a really soft pad. But they do feel a little scratchier, very ever so slightly, but they do. I think they are also more controlled. They do feel a little bit more controlled than the Ghost Glide Cyclones. So these are a pretty solid control skate. But I will give them another test on my other mouse pads. I already done some testing on my Xraypad kin and the Saturn, but let me have a look at them with you. So, first, we're going to look at the, not the Xraypad kin, sorry, the Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn. Yeah, so let's see. I've already tested this, but it's good to get a refresher, I suppose. So these are broken in ones, so these will have a little bit of a different, I will have a little bit of different opinion because they are different a little bit, but yeah. So I'd say this is a relatively thankfully this makes the Saturn feel a little bit more smoother. I don't really have a problem with it in terms of texture wise. It does feel relatively controlled. I think especially compared to other skates I've used on the Saturn. I think for the most part they just feel a little bit more not controlled, I guess. I don't know. Either way, the Obsidian does feel like they kind of have a lot more stopping power or whatever. I couldn't say for sure, but that's kind of the vibe I get. And when you break in your Obsidians, I think they're even more controlled. Yeah, I feel like they're just slower in general. In terms of both kinetic speed, and stopping power. So that's kind of my take on that. But yeah, let me take a look at my Xraypad kin, my hard pad that I own. And so this will give you kind of thoughts, or not thoughts, kind of how they perform on hard pads. So I can give you a comparison to the Ghost Glide Cyclones or anything like that. Sorry about the camera movement. Okay, so my impression are on the new Obsidian skates. They feel pretty smooth, honestly. Here, I'll give you. You can hear a little bit. Whoops. That was a little bit of a scratchy thing. I'm not sure if that was anything particular. Notice it might have just been sitting on the bottom of the skate. But that's kind of my unscientific spin test. And then it's the same thing with the more broken in ones, is they feel more controlled, but this actually does feel more scratchy. So you can even hear the difference. Like, listen, here's a new one. Here's the broken in one. Pretty noticeable, as you can see. I'm not sure, maybe these have been scratched before, but like I said, I did wear them in pretty hard. I did this for like longer than I should have, like while watching a show or something. So these are pretty broken in, like I said. But the performance on a hard pad, it does seem relatively consistent. These don't feel that different, if that makes sense. Like they feel different. This one feels more controlled, but it doesn't feel so different where it's like I need to replace these, and I did do some pretty rough work on these, and I meant like I really put some work in these. So these do feel faster. These do, and my guess why that is because the skates are probably more concave, like upwards, like a dome, kind of like this. And I'm guessing just by doing the breaking it in, it just kind of flattens that. And so when it's a flat surface, it creates it makes more surface area attached to the pad, and so it probably makes it more controlled. That's kind of my theory. I could be wrong though. Let me take a look at the skates really quickly. So if you look, it's kind of hard to weather to tell. Yeah, it looks like there's probably a little bit concave up. It does look pretty flat for a skate though, but I don't know. That's just my theory. But yeah, so when you first get them on a hard pad, when they're new, it feels pretty smooth. It doesn't feel completely loose though, as in like there is still static, like some stopping power. I do feel it between going left and right, so it is still there. And the speed is okay too. It's not particularly slow. It's just that the stopping power is a little bit better, or like the what's it called? Yeah, the stopping power, the static and friction, which is good, I'd say, for like control, like on more control on a hard pad, but still doesn't like feel muddy, I guess. So that's nice. And on the more broken in ones, a little bit more scratchy, unfortunately, but kind of the same thing, but more exaggerated. So the speed is about the same too, give or take. Maybe actually a little bit slower because the more surface area, I think. But also the static too does feel a little bit more stronger on this one. But yeah, it's a little more scratchy. I really don't know why. Like I said, it's probably that's my guess. But yeah, I mean, newer ones feel pretty good on a hard pad. And this doesn't feel bad by any means. It's just a little bit more scratchy, as you can hear. But it still feels okay, So I mean, like this, yeah, this does feel more controlled. So I guess if you do like it more controlled, then you might prefer a little bit more breaking in your skates on purpose. But yeah, that's gonna be the Xraypad Kin. Let me take this out of the way, give you my final impressions or my final opinions on the Obsidian skates. So these are gonna be some of the Obsidian skates. I remember them not being very controlled or very smooth when I first got them, but as of more recent testing, and maybe because of my placement of skates, they have been feeling more controlled and pretty consistent, honestly. When I first got them, I did feel like they were overrated. But like I said, I think that's maybe my end. So I am willing to give these another reassessment just because I did break this one in, and I have been using this one on a regular, on more consistent basis, I guess. I don't know, but I do think these are probably better than I gave it credit for. For $6.99, I believe you can get 20 dots. I'm pretty sure. I cannot confirm that for sure. Let me look really quick. Xraypad Obsidians. I know at the very least on the Xraypad website you can get it for $6.99. Oh wow, it comes with 40 dots. Oh Jesus. Okay, never mind. It comes with 40 dots. That's a lot more. Okay, so my opinion has changed just because of that. It's basically, if you want to get the Ghost Glide Cyclones, they're double that price. You will get 40 dots, but it is double that price. Although keep in mind, if you want the $6.99 price, you will have to buy it from Xraypad themselves. If you buy it from anywhere else, I think it'll be $10. So I mean, it's still cheaper, but a little bit more. But my opinion has pretty much changed on these. They are slightly more controlled, so at least from what I can tell. So I guess the more, but the I can't say that it's a little bit more controlled, but I think it is probably the better value proposition. Although the Cyclones have this, I think the difference between the Obsidian Dots and the Ghostglide Cyclones, especially on the soft pad, are that like this provides a pretty much stronger stopping power. So like if you I think this is better for games like Valorant or attack FPS games like CS:GO and whatnot. It does feel like a little bit powerful to like that have that flicking power and the stopping power, while the Ghostglide Cyclones have like a controlled sense, but also they still feel they feel looser a little bit, which is I would still say control on the slightly controlled end. But these do feel like they stop a lot more. Like if I wanted to make boxes like this and it was stopping power, I feel like this has stops a lot easier, so it makes it easier. If that makes sense, I guess it's a little weird, but yeah, I don't know. I think this is gonna be kind of preference whether you prefer the little bit more stopping power, a little bit less. Just like, you know, I think in my opinion the Ghostglide Cyclones were good for me because I like having a little bit of a speedier style and more micro adjustment style, but I recognize that when I use too much of speedy skates, it gets too difficult and out of control for me. So I found myself liking the Ghostglide Cyclones, but after using these a bit, I still have a pretty similar opinion. Like, these are controlled. These are not like completely more controlled than the Ghostglide Cyclones. So I think I still do like these, but for my aiming style, in terms of like, I like a little bit more micro adjusting, while this is gonna be a little bit harder to micro adjust, I think I do prefer the Ghostglide Cyclones. But I don't know if I'd recommend them more generally, especially like on a very depending on what game you play, especially for attack FPS games. If you're hardcore, you're competitive, and you value that budget cheaper, or like, you know, you like that, then I'd recommend the Obsidian Dots. But the Ghostglide Cyclones are pretty cool in their own league in that they're very smooth. They feel like very different. I'm not sure. I think in general they feel more smooth on like on soft pads too than just hard pads. So there's that. It costs more, but I do feel like they have a little bit more of a slightly less stuck feeling, I guess, because these do have stopping power, and the other ones, the Ghostglide Cyclones do too, but it feels more manageable. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you want that strong stopping power, like your hardcore tech FPS players, these are probably going to be better for you. I can't say for sure, obviously. Like for me, I have a different aim style, so like even for me when I play Valorant, I do prefer a more what's the word I'm looking for? A dynamic aim style. So I think I still prefer Ghostglide Cyclones for me, because I like, even when I flick, I still need to micro adjust a lot, and that's just me. I like, so that might be different for you. So I think I still like the Ghostglide Cyclones more, but not by that much. Like, if I had to decide between whether to use these and the Cyclones, I think I'd use these just because they're cheaper. For $6.99 you get 40 dots, and the other ones are double the price. But well, now that I have both of them, I'll probably use the Ghostglide Cyclones. I think I need to do a little bit more experimenting, because like I said, these are more controlled. Maybe this would do me better, but from my impressions, I do feel like I like a little bit more of a little bit of the somewhat controlled version of the Cyclones, but the still not super stuck. Well, this doesn't feel like super slow by any means, like super, you know, like static. It does provide solid stopping power, but in my opinion, like I said, I play with a little bit more dynamic aim style, so I think I prefer a little bit of the Ghostglide Cyclones. But yeah, so that's my kind of impression. These do feel, like I said, they had a different performance on the hard pad, I think. On the new ones, they felt relatively similar, although they do, I think in general, the Obsidian Dots feel a little bit harder. So that might be better for durability, though, like I said earlier. So, you know, consider that how you will. But I think these are a really great value, honestly. At first I thought they were kind of overpriced. I don't know why I did. I think I just thought of like, oh, because I think they were sold out everywhere. So I was like, oh, you know, these are like a higher end product. That was my impression. Clearly I'm wrong. For at least on Xraypad's website, it is $6.99 for 40 dots. So that's kind of insane considering that's like $3.50 for like 20 dots, and that's pretty much like AliExpress prices, honestly. So if shipping is free on Xraypad, which I don't think it is, but still relatively cheap, regardless, the price is pretty solid. And I think this is a safe buy. I feel like this is like the GPX, I guess, like a GPX solid in terms of like easy to recommend and like can't go really wrong with it, if that makes sense. But if you're looking for a little bit different, or you're looking to fine tune your style, a little bit more, like example, you might play Valorant, but you might have a more dynamic aim style like me, in terms of like how often you move your mouse, how micro adjusty you are, I guess. Then you actually might prefer something else. But these are a really solid control skate, I would say, that I feel like are like a pretty gold standard, in the same way that you'd probably recommend a GPX for most people, but for other people like who want to nerd out a little bit more and get into specifics, they might try something else like like a Razer Viper V3 Pro, or like, what I mean, like any alternatives like that, like a Skyrox V, anything like that. So that's kind of my that's gonna be my opinion on the Obsidian Pros. I did put some time like on both of these, like I said. Trying out the more broken in one feels a lot more controlled, but that did take a lot of use, so I don't know how long these will last. Like if I had to go from this one to this one, in terms of like on a regular soft pad, because I broke these in on a hard pad, if I had to try that with a soft pad, I don't know how long that would take. Honestly, it'd have to be a while, because I really broke it in pretty hard with the hard pad. So I feel like these will last a very long time, especially on a soft pad. So I think these are the better value proposition in terms of Ghostglide Cyclones. Like, they're nice, but these are probably the better value proposition. And in terms of whether I think this is the more safe and solid option. But if you prefer a little bit more of a dynamic aim style, like I said, or I guess you want less static friction, because some people might not like that. It feels a little too hard to move your mouse. It's not super muddy by any means, but it is stronger than the Cyclones. So depending on that, I think those will be kind of factors whether you decide to get the dots or not. But generally, I think my opinion has changed. I used to think they were not that great, but my opinion has changed, and I think they're pretty solid. So that's going to be my opinion, my review on the Xraypad Obsidian dots. Let me know. I do have Xraypad Jade dots, so if you want me to see me do that review, please let me know. If you want to see me do any other skates review or anything like that, please also let me know. Feel free to leave a like and comment and sub and whatnot, but that's totally up to you, because I do more reviews on skates like this generally, and mice. So yeah, that's gonna be my opinion. This video has been kind of long, honestly, so if you're still here, thanks for sticking around. I do appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.